Amazing. Petra, thank you so much for being here on Spark TV. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Danielle.
I'm so excited to share your story with the Spark community. So why don't we just start there? Talk to me, what is Guardian Angels Safety and how did you get there? So is this your first business? Was there a career beforehand? Like, what is the story to actually launching the business?
Right. So what we do is we protect remote and lone workers. So people who are working in remote locations with no cell cover, people who are working in high risk environments. So we do a lot of work for local government, parking wardens and, animal control officers, but also forestry and environmental groups who are going, engineering companies who are going remote. So we do that by providing wearable GPS monitored devices.
Cool.
So either panic pendants, with man down or no movement abilities and welfare checks and all of those good things that are automated, and that are totally portable. So they put them on when they leave in the morning and we monitor for any SOS alerts or for any failed welfare checks or anything like that. So that's what we do.
Wow.
And it's, I love it because we make a difference and we've saved lots of people. And I think that's always super rewarding because there's so much that goes on in the background to make sure that everything works the way it should. So we're very holistic. We very much focus on bridging the gap between the technology and the person, which I think is sort of, I think that women are quite good at, is that collaborative thing. How did we get there? Yeah, well, I did have a career. So I was a late starter.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah, so I was on my own with two children who were 15 and 17, and I was 46, and so it's 8 years ago. And I had worked as in sales and in marketing with the GPS telematics, so vehicles, but we also had a health and safety product. Software. It was a software product. And then I went and worked in a security company where we did some monitoring. And over those 5 or 6 years, I just thought, God, this is a dog's breakfast. This is, it was just very transactional. It was all about that recurring revenue and getting people to sign for monitoring and no one really making sure it was the appropriate technology for the risk. And really, so many different providers involved with hardware and software and monitoring and no one training end users. And I guess over those years where I kind of thought, what am I doing here? It's just such a horrible industry and I'm constantly fighting fires. And then the Health and Safety at Work Act was changing in New Zealand. We were adapting the Australian one so I sort of looked into it and I knew that there was specific lone and remote worker guideline as part of those new laws. So I kind of thought, well, I can't get anyone here to listen to me and what I want to do. No one will invest in it in the corporate environment I was in. And to be honest, there is always a moment, isn't there, I think, where, for me, I had my ass kicked a bit from different directions, being on my own with two kids and sort of more alone than I had expected. And more broke than I had expected. And I just really got sick of having my kind of future and my children's future determined by other people.
Yes.
So I just thought, you know what, I'm 46. I can be a slave to this for the rest of my days. And working quite frankly in a male-dominated industry, security and technology is very male-dominated. And I think I just had a few real kind of moments of getting pissed off, quite frankly. And
sometimes that's the best catalyst though, isn't it?
And some really serious kind of shit that happened. And I just thought, nah, I'm not doing this anymore. And so I did the market study. I looked at what does the law say? When is it coming in? What's the size of the addressable market? I had no idea about venture capitalist funding or how to raise money. So I did the only thing I kind of could think of to be able to really do it. And that was, I sat my teenagers down and said, I'm selling the house.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Where are we going to live?
You're like, in my new business office.
Yeah.
Oh
You
dear.
like camping out, there'll be a little kitchen. No, I said, you know what, we'll rent, because it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. It doesn't matter as long as we're together. It doesn't matter where we are. And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
so that's what I did. So I sold the house, and of course, I don't know, home ownership is such a big deal. Everyone around me was going, "What the hell? What are you doing? Why don't
Yeah.
you keep the house?" But
Mm,
honestly, I think if I'm very black and white. If you're going to go in, go all in.
yeah.
you know,
I love
um,
that.
I think that I've seen people try and work their full-time job
Mm,
in the business as a side hustle.
mm,
And so it's kind of, I guess, it's sensible. It's mitigating the risk that if it doesn't work. But I don't really work like that.
yeah.
I thought, you know what, I've done the analysis on the market. I know there's an addressable market. I knew enough about the technology, and I had a really clear idea of how I would deliver it. And initially I thought, you know what, I'll find someone doing it overseas the way I want to do it, and I'll just copy that, because there's no point reinventing the wheel, right? So
Yeah.
if there's an absolute really good provider somewhere in the world, I'll find them and I'll copy what they do.
Yep.
Um, and so I hunted around for ages before I made decisions. And I phoned companies in Canada and France and Sweden, and I'm from Sweden originally, and our
Mm,
Health and Safety at Work Act is very similar to the laws in Canada and France and the UK. So
mhm.
I rang all these. I couldn't find anyone that had all the pieces come together the way I had envisaged they would.
Yeah. Wow.
So I thought, okay, I'm doing it from scratch. But the good news with that is that no one else is doing it anywhere in the world. Like, what?
Yeah. Wow.
So
My God, that's incredible.
yeah. So that's, I guess, how it sort of came together. It's still doing your due diligence to make sure that. I think sometimes just because you have an idea and you think it's brilliant doesn't necessarily mean it is.
Yes.
So, and I have those kind of on a regular basis anyway, what I think is a brilliant idea. And then, I'll say to my
Totally.
team, I think we should do this. And they go, let's analyze that.
Yeah. Oh my, I love that. I now make myself sell it. So if I have what I think is a brilliant idea, I'm like, you're not allowed to spend money or build it until someone commits to buying it. And then that's your validation. And then you're
Yeah.
allowed to go down that path.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's exactly right. And it has to, and if you know who that target is and you've asked a few people, then it's like, okay, this feels like it's all right. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that's kind of where we got to. So I'm actually still renting because I keep finding new things to invest in.
I mean, to be honest, I just love it so much because you are so right. People have this perception that success or security is buying a house. So I totally agree with you. I don't have a house either. I rent, and I don't know if I would buy a house. Like it's one of those things where it seems like, oh yeah, that seems like that dream of having your own home or whatever. It's like, I don't even know if I will one day. But it is so funny. And I find that it's oftentimes not business owners. So people that don't have that tolerance for risk, or they're not kind of more creative thinkers or whatever, that do kind of equate success with the full-time job and buy a house, and they're the life steps that you tick off.
Yeah.
So I love that you said, you know what, no, this is an avenue for me to go after building something that's going to be, a business, an empire, a success. And if all I have to do is sell my house to get capital to do it, that's brilliant.
Well, I think also I even though I didn't know how else I could possibly raise the money anyway, I know that houses, they get capital gains, and it's an easy way to potentially make money if you buy wisely. But I just sort of think, I can do better than capital gains. Like if I do this right, I can see. I think you just got to back yourself and go. And I think for me too, I just didn't want to be beholden to anyone else ever again.
And I mean, you said that, the idea was born from, being frustrated in your industry and seeing that it could be done a better way. But then, yeah, like also, I guess, in life and going, you know what, stop it. I want to create an awesome life for myself. I mean, what a better combination.
Yeah, I think the universe does tend to deliver those messages sometimes very harshly.
Yes. Sometimes we're not listening, are we? And it needs to kick us up the bum. Yes.
Yeah, one after the other. I think you have like
Oh,
sometimes a whole year where you just go, ah. And that's kind of when you know it's time to shake shit up and see what falls out, and see what stays
yeah.
and what goes. Mm.
Oh my God. I love that expression, like shake shit up. You're so right. It's like, you do, sometimes you're beating your head against a brick wall, even if you're already in business. So even if you've got the business, but it's not quite hitting the mark, you're kind of feeling frustrated. Like, you're right. Sometimes it's like, well, if I keep doing the same thing that I've done over and over again, how am I expecting anything to change? Sometimes you do need to just go crazy. All right, let's just, think about this completely different.
Yeah.
Think about the market. Like, what is something completely different? Like, what is something just crazy that no one does in my industry that I can try? You're right. Shake shit up.
And I think I read this really interesting thing about your brain being just inherently lazy to reserve energy, because your brain uses more energy than anything else. And so it tends to go by muscle memory of what it sees all day and what it knows other people do. And so it can be really hard to reinvent things. And step outside, think outside the square. But I think, like you say, you have to kind of go, no, that's boring. That's boring. Everyone else is doing that. How can you really give it a good shake up? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting because I think it can be about giving yourself space to think. As business owners, we're wearing so many hats, right? And it's like every day, like I literally have this pad of paper on my desk that's this size of like my entire desk, and it's just full of crap that I have to do, right? Like, I could just sit here and chip away at tasks and never think and never do anything interesting. Sometimes you need to like let go of the guilt and actually get out of your own head and out of the to-do list and out of the day-to-day and think more creatively and strategically about your business.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is hard to make space for that. I mean, sometimes it's worth spending the time in there, because I also think when you step away, and then you don't involve yourself in the day-to-day, sometimes when you step back in, you go, hang on a minute, why are they doing it like that? I don't like that. Or you realize, because you're looking at it from a different perspective, you're not doing it anymore, they are. And when you look at it, you go, that actually wasn't the best way to do that.
Yeah.
A better way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. It's really interesting. So talk to me about going from employee to business owner, and especially, later in the career. So you've got a lot of career years under your belt. So do you think that made it harder to make the leap into business, or, what was that mindset shift like for you?
Yeah, I think, what, I actually think that if you've run a P&L and you've worked with someone else's money and had a credit card that isn't yours, so you have to be accountable for what you do, and you have to, I think that's quite a good discipline. Good discipline that you bring with you into your own business, because you've already got that mindset.
Yes, I love that.
So I think that is good. And you also have all the lessons of, you've had horrible bosses and managers, you've had horrible staff or team members. So you kind of have a pretty good idea of what kind of boss you don't want to be, and how you want to work with other people. So I think there are some really good learnings, and also where you've seen the company make decisions that you don't agree with. And thinking how you would do it differently. So I think some of those things are really good lessons. It's hard to get used to not having a pay packet.
I think that's the hardest first lesson that you learn.
Yeah, I mean, I was so glad I had sold the house, because I had this quite healthy looking bank account, so I didn't freak out. And I had 2 teenagers, and so that kind of I kind of mapped it. It'll be all right. Like it'll take me a year, and then we'll be fine. It always takes longer than that, though. But yeah. I think learning to look at money differently, I think that's actually a really important thing, because when you're employed, you get this pay packet, and you have to do better and show your results to get, and then you have to go and ask for a pay rise, or you have to kind of constantly ask for more or do more to get more, or whatever it is. And the money is kind of tied to, I've always been a pretty crap budgeter, to be honest, but it's kind of tied to, what do I need for rent and for food and school fees and all of that stuff. And then it's all allocated. So like it lands and it's pretty much allocated. and putting money aside for Christmas holiday or whatever. So it's kind of a bit of a go around, and it's just a product of going to work, being a slave to the business. And when you and then when you become self-employed, I think money loses its value in some ways, but it becomes more of a tool. I think you get less, I think you're less scared of it. It's viewing it as, this is a tool that will help me grow, and eventually, when there's enough of it, you will have some really cool choices. And until then, just don't be frightened of it, because somehow, if you've done your homework, and I think also the discipline of going to work every day, I couldn't just float around. I was like on the phone all day, and then doing the website at night, and doing strategy at night, and building my phone the next day at night. And you just so you're no longer having to work from kind of 8 to 5, but you're so used to that, you kind of feel guilty if you don't.
Oh my God, it's so true, isn't it? It's weird how that corporate mentality finds its way, especially in the early days of when you start the business. It's almost like that's the framework that you use, because you're kind of figuring things out as you go along. But I love what you said actually about when you become self-employed, you stop fearing money. I think you're so right, because it stops being a finite resource. Like, you're right. It's when you get a pay check, it's capped. That's what it's going to be for the next year. And, you've got all your expenses, and that's what you've got to do with it. And until you ask for a pay rise and actually get one, that's it. Yep. Whereas in your business, it's kind of like, yes, there's a bit of hustle in the early days while you're building it up, but it's infinite. Like, you literally have an infinite earning potential. So, the harder or the smarter or the more successful you are, or whatever, that becomes unlimited, which is pretty exciting.
It is exciting, and it's massively motivating. And I think that's fine for that to be motivating. I don't think it's
absolutely. Right? Yeah.
I think, hey, look, if you want to, for me, it's like I did start drawing more money as we got more successful, and helped my kids do some after school courses, education, and we did some cool trips together. And that's
stuff, what you want. Like, that's what money should be about, right? Like, you said the word, it's a tool. It's not this budget. It's not this beholden to this limit. It's a tool for building a better business, having a more interesting, exciting life, connecting with your kids more. Like, I love that word. It's just a tool for life.
Yeah, totally. And you shouldn't, and it's exciting. I think it keeps it motivating too, because you go, gosh, I remember when we celebrated our monthly revenue being this, and I look back on that, and I have really fond memories of it, because I'm so excited at these small.
I have screenshots. I took screenshots at different milestones. Isn't it funny? It's cool though.
It is really cool. It's so rewarding. I mean, and that's the motivating part, right? Like, and I think you keep kind of moving the goalposts. Like, I'm a shocker for going, oh, we're going to get to this point. And then we get to that point, and I go, oh, yeah, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm going to get to this point, And I don't think that will ever stop, because I think it's competitive, and it keeps you motivated. And, and then you start realizing that there are so many choices. And when maybe you finish your business journey, if you exit, that there's actually some really cool things you can do when you don't have to worry about money, in terms of adding value to your community or your country. Or whatever. And I look forward to being able to do some of that as well.
You're so right. Like, someone once said to me, money and impact shouldn't be mutually exclusive. So, it's people who are trying to do good things in the world shouldn't not want to earn money, because the more money you have, the more that you can actually do, the bigger impact you can make, the more you can enhance the community in which you live. Like, I just love that idea of, don't cap your earning potential, because that means you have this now tool to give back and to do more exciting things for the community.
Yeah, and for your team. And, I think all of those things, that all of a sudden you can afford to go for a really nice dinner and buy champagne,
and speaking my language, yes.
yeah. And I'm such a sanguine personality. I've got to have a bit of fun. Otherwise I start to, so, and so you just drag the team with you, and you can afford to do sort of more stuff and more fun stuff, and sharing it with a team is also so much more fun than doing it on your own,
Oh my God, that is just so true. You know, when you can help other people grow and achieve their goals and their dreams, that is so satisfying and rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think when, and look, humans, people have always got stuff going on in their life,
Mm,
someone's aunt is unwell or dying and someone's child is sick,
mm.
or especially the last couple of years, we've all
Oh
had
my
to
God, yes.
isolate, isolation, be sick. And I've still got a hoarse voice from 2 months ago of
Oh no.
the name of the virus we won't mention.
That's right. That's right.
'Cause it's,
Oh.
yes. No, so, being able to actually send meals for a week
Mm,
when someone's isolating at home with their children and having the capacity to do some of those things, to take the opportunity to show that you appreciate what they do when they're with you, but also to help and ease the burden of whatever it is that they're going through right now. So
mm.
being able to having the resources internally within the business to be able to really look after your team is really so rewarding.
I love that. So talk to me about teams. So how many people have you got working with you at the moment?
So there is 6 of us in New Zealand, including me, and then we have a person in Australia. So we're
Mhm.
just sort of switching our focus to Australia.
Nice.
And we outsource, so we've got sort of contractors. We've got an acting CTO and an acting CFO. I've got an advisory board who are amazing. We use monitoring stations in Australia and New Zealand, 1 in Australia and 2 in New Zealand. So,
Mhm.
and they're a really big part of what we deliver. So we work really closely with them, training operators and rewarding operators, and making sure they feel like they're part of the journey, because what they do is
Mm.
important. So, and our suppliers. And so while we have this kind of small team, the larger picture involves a lot of other people.
Wow.
And I think it's so important to try and make them feel part of it. Mm.
Yeah, well, and that was the question that I was going to ask you is how do you keep all of those people engaged and excited about the mission?
Yeah, I think what I've learned, and always the easy way, is to try and try and employ team members who you can instill the passion in,
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
that they can also then spread that same passion. Yeah, I think, and that's really tricky to do, actually. And the only way you can do that is to really not forget how important it is. Because I think you get so used to, oh yeah, this is just my journey. I've been at it for years and it's
Mm.
boring. But actually when you have those moments where you share some memories or some stuff from the early days, and you talk to especially new people about it,
Mm.
they're like, wow, that's so cool. And you're so passionate. I'm going to record it. When I engage with teams who are looking for a solution, that's my favorite place to be. Like,
Mm.
love it, because when they tell me some of the close calls they've had, and I tell them how
Yeah, wow.
helped, or
Mm.
where we have saved people.
Mm.
So I'm really passionate about really making sure this industry stays honest, because there's some not very good stuff out there,
Yeah.
uh, and really making sure that people understand what is good look like, and what does excellent look like, and what does really shit look like.
Yeah.
Because in today's world, it's easier to make anything look really flash, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Cue Instagram. Mhm.
Yeah, I use all of that, and flash
Yeah.
files. And anyway, so so I think keeping the passion alive by innovating and sharing the stories. So if we have real events, we had 2 events last weekend, and we always talk about them in our work in progress meeting. And
Mm.
because I think people forget to communicate, and I think it's so important, and I
Mm.
usually ring the staff member that was involved in the event and check if they're okay, and
Yeah.
what could we have done anything better, because
Mm.
it's important to take the learnings, and then sharing, and then thanking the operator that managed the event, making sure they understand that they made a big difference,
Mm.
and sharing those stories with the team. That
Yeah.
keeps the fire burning, and keeps everyone feeling like everyone in our team is so excited to be part of what we do. Like
Yeah.
that.
Well, and I mean, I love that, like including the team in the successes and the impact that you're actually having. It seems so simple, but I think when we get bogged down with each one of our jobs, we
Yeah.
kind of forget to come together as a group and reflect on those things.
Definitely. I think that's right. I think you get, and I'm guilty of it too, I have moments where I have to have a chat to myself and go,
Yeah.
you're
Give
being
yourself a pep
impatient,
talk.
you're being impatient and you're not putting enough effort into XYZ or whatever,
Mm,
yeah.
mm,
And then you sort of do that, and it, you can feel that it's made a difference to how everyone feels, and
mm,
it's just an easier way to do business if you've got good relationships with not just your team but with all your suppliers, and you're
mm,
communicating, and you show appreciation. They're going to
mm.
do more things for you as well. It's a equitable two-way flow thing.
I mean, it's amazing because it's like building good like you said, it's, good, easy, why wouldn't you want to do business like that? But it's like, I find building relationships is like the number one sales strategy. Everyone hates sales for some reason. I love sales. But I'm like, if all you're doing is building great relationships and having an impact and creating value, like surely that's a great sales strategy.
Well, I think people say, aren't you selling all day, every day? You sell yourself to romantic partners, you sell your ideas to your parents, you sell
Yes.
your ideas to your kids.
Yeah.
You sell yourself to get a pay rise. I mean, it's
Mm.
everything. If you're trying to hustle a deal, which I always do, that's something I can't seem to shake.
I love it. Yeah.
It's something else in my DNA. But you're kind of pitched. Most people actually are selling something in
Yeah.
their day, even though they hate sales.
Mm. Oh, look, I couldn't agree with you more. I always say like sales should be the number one skill of a person in business, of a business owner, a founder, whatever we want to call them.
Yeah.
Like you're spot on. I say that to them all the time. I'm like, you're like convincing your kids to eat their vegetables at dinner. Like it's a sales skill. Everything we are doing is selling, and I think if we keep associating it to be a negative thing, then we're kind of doing ourselves a disservice because we're not out there talking about the amazing impact we can have on people's lives.
Well, and I think selling, it has changed a little bit. I think we're not, most of us are not just selling stuff you don't need. We're selling solutions to a problem, especially women. Women are really good at coming across a problem and solving it, and that's their business, right? So that's why women build better businesses, actually, because they are solving problems. And so, but you can't, you can't get the word out there if you can't sell it. If you can't sell it, you're not going to succeed. I mean, there are so many good ideas, and that the businesses just didn't work because the founder or the person that started it wasn't comfortable with sales. And we don't sell like that anymore. We're solving a problem. We're not harassing people to buy something that they don't want.
Yeah.
We're saying, I know you've got this problem. Here's something I can do to help you solve it.
Yes.
So you're adding value, and without sales, you don't have a business.
Oh my God. You're speaking my language. I love this so much. So to wrap up, what has been, so a lot of people tuning into Spark TV are kind of early stage female founders. So they have just taken the leap. They've built an amazing product. They're trying to get runs on the board. Any lessons you learned, maybe the hard way, that you would share with a woman in business to help her keep going?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think don't be afraid to hustle. I mean, I really do. In the beginning, I was adamant I wasn't going to take investment because I didn't want to be told what to do by anyone ever again. And so
I love this. Yeah.
All my growth has come from cash flow. So every piece of available cash flow. I mean, we're in a recurring revenue business, so that's good because we can kind of go, when it gets to here, we can do this. But in the beginning, I couldn't afford to go to the shows. I couldn't afford to pay staff. So I went to the shows. I'd hustle a ticket to go along as a delegate, telling them I was going to perhaps buy a space next year.
That's genius. Awesome. Yeah.
So, I just want to check it out, make sure it's the right market for me. Can I come along? And I always would overstay my welcome. But, I went to all the shows the first couple of years like that, and I would go armed with some flyers. I had a big handbag. I'd have it full of flyers and business cards. And I always bought tickets to the dinner and the networking events.
Nice.
And then I just network, and I spent hours on the phone, just ringing, trying to track down the right people. For us, that's health and safety managers, stalking people on LinkedIn, building a database of people I wanted to approach, looking at their website to see if they were the right kind of target, and I just think if you do the hard yards like that, you will be successful, but you can't sell a secret.
Oh my God, you're so right. Yes. Yeah, it's so funny. I was just on this like personal branding kind of masterclass, just trying to stay educated. And that was one thing that they actually said, like, it's not about the best product or service, it's actually the best known product or service, because you're right, can't sell a secret.
No, and you can fake it till you make it. I mean, I used to be like, oh yeah, I'll get my team to do that, and then I'd be at night,
I love that. My customer service email that I also man. Yep.
With its own signature on it. And I think, the thing I probably learned the hard way is who to trust and who not to trust as the deals became more valuable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of greed out there. I honestly think women are more collaborative. Men are more transactional. So the contracts that we started bidding for and winning, when they grew in value, so did the size of the rocks being hurled our way.
Wow.
And there were some really unpleasant dealings that actually really shook me, I have to say. Like I just kind of, I'm the worst liar in the world, so I don't bother.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing. Don't worry. Yeah.
And I like transparency, that's how I've built a business, and our business ultimately a lot of trust as well. People have got to trust us with their staff's lives, and so there's trust. So I actually, I think women find it hard to ask for help.
Yeah.
And so I would say, don't be frightened to ask for help. You can't know it all, and build a network. There are some amazing women in business networks like yours. And I had support. I discovered the CEO network called
yes. Yep.
So I had amazing support from them, not just that we were one of the successful ventures one year, so 6 years ago, but I've been an activator since before we became a successful venture. And the network and access to that network and the trust, you can literally reach out to the network and say, I've got this going on, not sure what to do. Has anyone had this? Or can someone help me with a PR person or an accountant person, or I don't know how to build this. And you always get these amazing women come forward who are just wanting to pay it forward. They're not looking to make money out of you. They're not looking to steal your ideas. They just really they want to help. And it's a network of trust. And I think that that's been invaluable for me after having come unstuck a few times on trusting too much, trusting the wrong people. So I would say, don't be precious. Don't be scared to ask for help. Don't be scared of money, and don't be scared of really being hungry for success.
Petra, you are absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for spending your time with us here on Spark TV. Have we got visitors?
Billy, what's wrong? Sorry, she doesn't normally back.
Oh my God, that's so hilarious.
I don't
perfect, know. But also perfect timing. Oh no, I love it. That is amazing. No, I could not be more grateful for your time and sharing your story with the Spark community and the lessons learned as well. That is phenomenal. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me, Danielle. Excuse my dog. She's very rude.
No, I love it. I always love furry visitors on the show.